Hi everyone, it's Mr. Lavasser. Today we're going to work on a lesson of plate tectonics, how the Earth's plates move over the mantle. All right, let's open up our assignment, please. And here it is. You'll notice that any of these blue places where the lettering is blue, those are actually links to YouTube videos about the topic. So our content objective, the three types of plate boundaries: divergent, transform, and convergent. Our language acquisition topics: defining terms based on textual evidence. And we're working on some aspects of field, which is the field is how we give information, ideas, and experiences in text. And we're working to identify the processes, the actions, and the logical connections, the conjunctions, the way that we join together two different ideas or clauses. So let's read the instructions. Read, discuss, and highlight using functional language analysis. Follow the key, and the key is over here on the right. Okay. Earth's plate motion, main ideas. The Earth's surface is broken into large rocky plates that fit together like pieces of a giant jigsaw puzzle. Tectonic plates interact at plate boundaries. Plate boundaries are the site of geologic action such as volcanoes, earthquakes, uplift of mountains, mid-ocean ridges, and continental drift. Okay, so let's read the text one time together, and then we'll analyze for the features that we see in our functional language analysis key. The theory of plate tectonics states that Earth's surface, or lithosphere, is a solid crust of rocks, or plates, that move over the surface of the planet. The theory suggests that the Earth's hard rock surface is divided into large tectonic plates. These plates are floating on top of a hot layer of molten rock. This layer of hot fluid rock, which is beneath the lithosphere, is called the mantle. Places on Earth where tectonic plates are interacting or splitting up show the Earth's dynamic nature. These places are called plate boundaries. Four key types of tectonic boundaries or interactions between the Earth tectonic plates are: 1, divergent plate boundaries; 2, transform plate boundaries; 3, convergent plate boundaries, where ocean plates collide or contact continental plates; and 4, convergent boundary plates, which are continental to continental plates. A divergent plate boundary forms where two plates separate, and divergent plate boundaries pull continents apart. An example of a divergent plate boundary is seen in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, separating South America and Africa. Another example of a divergent plate boundary on a continent is in East Africa, where a continental rift can be seen in Kenya. Transform plate boundaries form where two plates slide past each other. A famous example of transform plate boundaries is the San Andreas Fault in California, where earthquakes often happen. Convergent plate boundaries form where two tectonic plates collide. When continental plates and oceanic plates collide, the oceanic plate goes under the continental plate. This causes mountain ranges and volcanoes. Convergent boundary plates can also happen where two continental plates collide. This causes both plates to push upwards, creating large mountains. An example of two continental plates colliding is the Himalayan mountains. So we are going to look for these terms because we want to find textual evidence. We want to find textual evidence apparently it's not going to write today. Textual evidence of the following terms: lithosphere, mantle, plate boundary, divergent plate boundary, transform plate boundary, and convergent plate boundary. So let's get out our highlighter and we'll highlight for a process. Okay, so the first aspect that of the text that we're going to highlight is the processes. And we're going to highlight those with pink. And the processes, or the actions, are an important part of the field. And the field is how we communicate knowledge. The field is also called the field of knowledge. So let's look for some actions or some processes which are realized with the types of words called verbs. The theory of plate tectonic states that the Earth's surface, or lithosphere, is a solid crust of rocks or plates that move over the surface of the planet. The theory suggests that the Earth's hard surface is divided. Remember, is, are, has, and have are going to be your most common verbs in a science text. Is divided into large tectonic plates. These plates are floating, and floating is in parentheses because they're not really floating, but it's a way of describing their motion. On top of a hot layer of molten rock. This layer of hot fluid rock, which is beneath the lithosphere, is called the mantle. Places on Earth where the tectonic plates are interacting or splitting up show the Earth's dynamic nature. This is another one of these interesting sentences that we often find in science writing, where here is the subject, places on Earth, and the predicate for that subject is way over here. Shows the Earth's dynamic nature. And they've put in another clause in between the beginning or the subject and the ending, the predicate of that clause. Places on Earth show the Earth's dynamic nature. Now they've put in a clause in the middle here with its own subject and its own predicate. Okay, and notice sometimes these are within commas, so it's almost like you can just grab and pull that section out. But what is this whole thing doing? It is describing the places on Earth. And look, we have a linking word here. We have a linking word here, which is where, and where is describing the places on Earth. Places on Earth where tectonic plates are interacting or splitting up show the Earth's dynamic nature. And let's carry on looking for our processes. These places are called plate boundaries. 4 key types of tectonic plate boundaries or interactions between Earth tectonic plates are: 1, divergent plate boundaries; 2, transform plate boundaries; 3, convergent plate boundaries, ocean plate to continental plate; 4, convergent plate boundary, continental to continental plate. And I'm going to leave the rest for you to highlight the verbs and the processes. I'm going to erase these marks here that I made, showing you some of that, what I think is pretty complicated English. All right. erased part of that. I'm going to put that back. Are interacting or splitting up. There. Okay, so let's find key science words. We know that pretty much every clause in a science text is going to have a very science-specific word. For example, theory, plate tectonics, the Earth's surface, lithosphere. Lithosphere actually means rock sphere or rock-shaped ball shape. Solid crust of rocks, plates, surface of the planet, theory, Earth's hard rock surface, tectonic plates, these plates, molten rock, layer of hot fluid rock, lithosphere, just about mantle. Mantle is where, as the layer of liquid rock underneath the crust. So just about every clause is going to have an important science term. And these three here are some of our most important clauses, phrases, or terms: divergent plate boundary, transform plate boundary, and convergent plate boundary. Those are three of our most important words for this lesson. And once again, I'll let you find some of these other important science terms. One of the important things in science writing is how to join together ideas. And often there are special words in English called conjunctions that are used to do that. Let's read through and find some of those conjunctions. The theory of plate tectonics states that is one of those words. That. So that is actually saying something. That move. What moves? Plates move. What does that mean? It means plates. What states that? It's going to tell you what the theory states. The theory states that. The theory suggests that. Subject, theory. Predicate, suggests. New subject, new predicate. So that joins together new clauses, multiple clauses together. This layer of hot fluid rock, which is beneath the lithosphere, and what does which refer to? The layer of hot fluid rock. Is beneath the lithosphere is called the mantle. Places on Earth where tectonic plates are interacting or splitting up show the Earth's dynamic nature. These places are called plate boundaries. 4 key types of tectonic plate boundaries or interactions between Earth's tectonic plates are, and we have that. I'm going to go on and show you a few more that are in this section here. A divergent plate boundary forms where 2 plates and an example of a divergent plate boundary is seen in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, separating South America and Africa. Another example of divergent plate boundaries on the continent is in East Africa, where a continental rift can be seen in Kenya. Transform plate boundaries form where 2 plates slide together. A famous example of transform plate boundaries is the San Andreas Fault in California, where earthquakes often happen. Convergent boundaries form where 2 tectonic plates collide. When continental plates and oceanic plates collide, the oceanic plate goes under the continental plate. This semicolon is actually a way of joining together clauses as well. another where. So all of these are ways of joining together individual clauses. And let's move to blue for our definitions. And let's quickly look again at what some of the words that we want to define are: lithosphere, mantle, plate boundary, divergent plate boundary, transform plate boundary, and convergent plate boundary. The theory of plate tectonics states that Earth's surface or lithosphere, Earth's surface or lithosphere, is a solid crust of rocks or plates that move over the surface of the planet. So there's our definition of lithosphere. Mantle. Mantle. This layer of hot fluid rock, which is beneath the lithosphere, is called the mantle. Plate boundary. There are 4 key types of tectonic boundaries or interactions between the Earth plates. I think maybe that is defined up here. There we go. Tectonic plates interact at plate boundaries. Plate boundaries are the site of geologic action, such as volcanoes, earthquake, uplift of mountains, mid-ocean ranges, and continental drifts. And I'm going to allow you to work on finding the rest of the definitions in this text. And once you've found them, you can then either copy them or cut and paste them into this section here. So in section 3, I've used this book. I've used this book here, which is one of our school books. It's called iScience, System and Cycles. And I've taken a picture out of the book and I've asked you to read and study the picture. And over here, there's some information for you. And there's little pictures of all of these examples of plate boundaries. And on the right, I'm asking you to list 3 facts about the different types of plate boundaries. 3 facts about divergent plate boundary, 3 facts about transform plate boundary, 3 facts about convergent plate boundary, where it's ocean to continent, and 3 facts about convergent plate boundary, where it's continent to continent. And here we're going to write a few sentences, at least 4 sentences. And we're going to use the Peel pattern. We're going to present an idea. We're going to explain or define the idea. We're going to give an example, and then we're going to link it to some other part of our study. And so what's our prompt? What is our prompt here? Our prompt is, let me put it in on the highlighter. Our prompt is explain why plate boundaries are the sites of geological activity. And this question is not answered exactly in our reading. So you have to infer, you have to think about why, okay? And so, I'm going to begin, and I'm going to take these lines out because I don't need them, because I'm going to be using the Word document, and I'm going to change the color just so I can easily see it. And so in the Peel pattern, how do we begin? We begin by making our point, or we begin by presenting an idea. So plate boundaries are the site of geologic activity, such as the building of mountains, volcanoes, rifts or tears, and ocean ridges. Where did I get all that information? I got that information from reading the texts above, including these sections on the left. All right. So now I have my present. Now I have my present section done, and I'm just going to highlight that over here. Okay. So I've done my first P. The next one is explain. So I'm going to explain by defining. I'm going to define what plate boundaries are. Plate boundaries, are, and I'm going to leave that for you to define. I'm going to leave that for you to define. So I'm going to write dot, 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 which is called an ellipsis, which means there's something there. So then the next one is an example. So now we've got the first E. Now we're going to do the second E, which is an example. And we can start with an example of plate boundaries. How about this? Examples rather than an example. Examples of plate boundaries include, now I'm going to put an ellipsis in, dot, 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 which means there's more information to come. We just don't see it. And let's see what this is. Oh my goodness, how many times can I spell that word wrong? Plate boundaries are the site of geologic activity, such as the building of mountains, volcanoes, rifts, and ocean ridges. Plate boundaries are plate boundaries are, and then we define it. Examples of plate boundaries include, and then, so now we've got our present, we've got our explain or define, we've got our example, now we need a link. So let's link it to the study of the dinosaur Mesosaurus. In the study of Mesosaurus, we learned that these fossils appear on different continents because, and I'm going to type in another ellipsis, which means that there's more information for you there. So wherever there's an ellipsis here, you should add to it. You can use my example or you can create your own. So we're writing the peel pattern. We're writing a paragraph with the peel pattern, and our paragraph is explaining why plate boundaries are the site of geological activity. And so our link can link us back to our study of this Mesosaurus dinosaur fossils. All right, thank you for your attention, and I hope you do a great job on this assignment.